So, the fact that maps rarely show off height or obstructing objects really kinda sucks in games, huh? In an era of waypoints and distance in meters to a specific objective, topographic issues can ruin any given area. Need to get from one point to the next in a time limit? Oh, that's nice. But there's a fence in your way that stretches on forever, so good luck there. Want a clean flight path? Sorry, buildings. Trying to remember which continent the bonus village is on? Sure would be nice if all of them weren't filled with an endless stretch of plains and mountains, and maybe a forest if you're lucky. Now, players will, of course, eventually grow familiar with any world after hours of moving around it, but how can designers gently push a player in before they encounter an overwhelming amount of options? How do you allow this without arbitrarily gating off parts of the world? Amazingly, one of the earliest examples of a robust world map, Dragon Quest III, holds the key. You begin Dragon Quest III in the Kingdom of Aliahan. This kingdom is located on an island, surrounded in parts by mountains and trees, so as not to give off its relatively small scope immediately. Random encounters also keep the player from exploring it too thoroughly, at least initially, encouraging a comfortable first few hours of gameplay there. When the player feels like they've totally conquered the area, they enter this area where a portal awaits. Upon stepping into the portal, the player is whisked away to the shores near the Kingdom of Romali, with no way back to Aliahan. And from here, the game opens up from its original limited beginnings, however slowly. Romali is at the tip of a peninsula, funneling players upward as they explore the land. There's a bridge to the right that leads to an area far too strong for the player to handle at this point, so they head further north until they reach the village of Kazav. Kazav rests in the middle of a mountain range, branching off in the four main cardinal directions. This centralized location allows the player to explore with little fear, knowing that no matter which direction they go, Kazav will always serve as a central point to return to. Now, this bit is all very straightforward. Using cardinal directions and limiting a player's options without making them feel too roped into an area should be pretty obvious design choices. However, Dragon Quest III does have the player returning to past areas like Romali several times during the adventure. This becomes especially true when the player receives a ship to sail the seas with. Knowing little things like Romali is on a peninsula, or Kazav is where the mountains converge, or a huge amount of these desert tiles means that the desert town of Isis is nearby, really help a player. Having landmarks set in the player's head lets them gauge roughly where new areas are, like this whole new continent with a huge mountain range on the left side blocking passage, or this Japanese-inspired town and dungeon featured on this Japan-looking island. Or these ice caps in the far north and south, or this Australia-shaped island that's... Okay, that's just Australia. Can we see a full world map, please? Oh. Dragon Quest III takes familiarity to a whole new level, creating a fictionalized version of Earth for the player to explore. Once they realize it, navigation becomes a breeze. Romali is right where Rome should be. The Eastern monk-looking temple that lets you change classes is right inside of the Asian landmass. You get to create a brand new settlement roughly where Jamestown is, in a fantastic analog to European explorers discovering the New World. Australia is a terrible, terrible place, and a desolate abyss that people only venture to the heart of to test their absolute bravery and become true heroes. And the best part of it is, this is a very slow, very gradual realization to come to the player, charting out the world as if they were one of the great cartographers of old, before realizing, oh yeah, this place is really familiar. So often will a game guide a player by the hand through their world, only opening up when endgame approaches or only a few side quests are left. The opposite is often true as well. huge maps being available, filled with blank space with nothing going on, serving only to increase the scope of a world between waypoints. Dragon Quest III doesn't fit into either category. It teaches the player slowly about its world, opens itself up, and lets them use their prior knowledge to best explore it. And then it hits them with a whammy that makes exploration both a thrill and a breeze. Despite the incredibly limited hardware potential of the NES, I'd argue this 30-year-old game puts a lot of modern titles to shame in just how intimately a player can bond with the overworld. Heck, an incredibly popular urban myth originated because of this game. So many people were hooked and immersed by Dragon Quest III's world and gameplay, it was rumored that the Japanese government ordered Enix to only ever release future Dragon Quest titles on weekends, due to a number of children and adults calling into work sick in order to play the game, having an adverse effect on the economy. I'd like to think that the happiness players felt in exploring this world had a hand in that. No matter how old, Dragon Quest III's Overworld can still show a new generation how to design for familiarity.